That's how we ended up here. Alcatraz. They used to call it Evil Island. And we were about to find out why.
Mob of the Dead, one of the most innovative zombies maps we have ever seen. So much that it changed everything we know about zombies and even saved it. Without Mob, we possibly would have never seen Shadows of Evil or most of Black Ops 3. This map is a pivotal map in COD Zombies, and here is why. Before we dive into this masterpiece, we need to talk about the build up to this map, as the last two zombies maps we got were Transit, which was a failure, and Die Rise, which was also a failure. Zombies was hanging on by a thread, and Jimmy Zielinski, the zombies director that made all of Black Ops 1 and the first two maps of BO2, would not make this next map, but this job to save the game would be in the hands of Jason Blundell, and well, let's just say he cooked. So you start out in this cutscene where you get to meet 4 new characters that are the prisoners. You're first introduced to Sal, who is my favorite character of the 4. Then next you see Michael O'Leary, also known as Finn. Then you have Billy slowly appear from the shadows, and then lastly is Albert Arlington, also known as the Weasel. All 4 characters are voiced by celebrities, which is the second time we have ever seen this. But out of all the celebrities cast we have seen in Zombies, this one is the most legendary crew. And some would even argue that this is the best crew in the whole franchise. Now let's talk about the map. You start off differently than the other maps, as in this map you start off as a ghost called Afterlife Mode. Afterlife Mode is the main mechanic of the map and is used for turning on power boxes around the map for perks for the key and for getting parts for the plane, which is basically how you get to Pack-a-Punch. In solo you have 3 of them and you can gain these back after you use them. Now another cool thing is that this replaces Quick Revive, so if you go down, instead you'll go to Afterlife Mode to revive yourself, which makes the map 10 times more easier as you basically have infinite quick revives, making getting to higher rounds and setting up the map a lot easier than the other maps. Now another thing, this map is the first map to introduce a quest style map. You can now see the parts on the menu and can finally hold more than one part at a time, whereas in Die Rise and Transit you can only hold one at a time. The whole quest style map is so innovative and makes setting up the map more fun and easy instead of going back and forth a bunch. Now this map setup can be hard, especially for any new players, as there is a lot of remembering for the parts, but the rewards are well worth it. Now going for Pack-a-Punch is really cool as it feels like you are trying to escape this prison. In total there are 5 plane parts to get, and honestly it is not that hard to get but can take some time. Once you get all 5, you need to build a plane on top of the roof and you can finally fly off. This sequence is definitely my favorite part of the map, as you're flying through these clouds and you notice to start going towards the Golden Gate Bridge and you crash into it. On the bridge is Pack-a-Punch and it is like playing a completely different map. This area is so cool to play around, and honestly I wish they made this its own like survival map. Now after getting Pack-a-Punch you can go back to the prison by going into the electric chairs, and you start to notice that there is one big cycle going on, which is basically the whole story of the map, and you're trying to basically break that cycle. Now another thing to go for is the Hell's Retriever, which is basically a tomahawk and a boomerang combined. Now to get it is really easy, as you have to fill up 3 dog heads around the map, one being in the cell block, the other being in the infirmary, and the last one being in the docks. Once you feed all 3, you can go down underground to grab the retriever. This lethal is so cool and fun to use, but there is a way to upgrade it, and it is really easy to do. You need to fly back to the Golden Gate Bridge and basically get a bunch of kills with the retriever until you hear an afterlife sound. Once you hear that, go back to the prison and throw it into the lava pit. Once you do that, you need to wait around until you hear a laugh and go into Afterlife Mode and grab the retriever where you first got it. And now you have the Hell's Redeemer, which is basically an upgraded version of the Hell's Retriever, and now it's basically blue. Now let's talk about the wonder weapon, the Blundergat. You can get the Blundergat 2 ways, through the mystery box or a side Easter egg. The side Easter egg is basically throwing the Hell's Retriever at certain spots to get these blue skulls. Once you get all the skulls, you are rewarded with a free Blundergat instead of relying on RNG. Now there are two ways to upgrade the Blundergat, one being through the Pack-a-Punch machine and another is turning it into the Acid Gat. The way to turn it into the Acid Gat is that you need to find 3 parts around the map and then build it on the table, and then you basically just put the Blundergat in it, which basically turns it into the Acid Gat. Now the best version is to Pack-a-Punch the Blundergat and then put it into the Acid Gat, turning it into the Vitrolic Withering, which is basically the best version of the gun. This version now has a Monkey Bomb effect and the Acid Gat explosions as a combo. This wonder weapon is not only cool looking, but is fun to use, making it one of my favorite wonder weapons of all time. Now the last thing to go for is the Golden Spork, which is basically a melee weapon. Now the way to get the Spork is first you need to get the Retriever and the Acid Gat. You need to throw the Retriever at this poster and then go into Afterlife mode to spark the Spork. Once you do that, go to the cafeteria and throw the Retriever at the Spork, then go upstairs and put it in the bloody bathtub. Once you do that, go to the showers and get a bunch of kills with the wonder weapon. After a certain amount of kills, you go upstairs to the tub and you got yourself the Golden Spork. This melee weapon is so much fun to use and is actually really good as it one hits up until around round 35. Now onto the Easter egg, and this Easter egg is pretty easy as basically the whole Easter egg is doing the setup and like 3 extra steps, which is shocking numbers and listening to some audio and doing the ultimate 1v1. But to start the egg, you have to go to Pack-a-Punch 3 times, which is pretty cool and it kind of feels like you're trying to escape the prison. Overall, this Easter egg is good, but I really wish you could do it solo. And honestly, this Easter egg is kind of similar to Shadows of Evil. Now on to the difficulty of the map. And this map is definitely one of the easier maps on Black Ops 2, as going back to the Afterlife mode, if you're solo, you get 3 of them, so it's like having unlimited quick revives, which makes dying really hard. Now this map introduces the first round boss zombie that spawns in, which is Brutus or the Warden. This boss is cool and is probably one of the scariest boss zombies we have ever seen. You can feel his presence when he spawns, as the ground shakes when he runs when chasing you. Shooting off his helmet drops a smoke which makes the visuals hard, which adds to the fear. He is pretty easy to kill, especially if you have the wonder weapon. My problem with this boss though is that he can lock stuff around the map, like the box, the perks, and even the buildables. When he locks, you have to pay to unlock it, which can be annoying. Now Brutus is the only boss zombie on this map, which I feel this map should have had a dog round, as it would have fit the map honestly perfectly, and honestly would have just made it better in my opinion. Now let's talk about the map layout, as this map's layout is pretty good, but honestly feels very weird. This layout is actually kind of similar to Call of the Dead in some ways. This map feels big and small at the same time. It's weird to explain, as the outside is very large while the inside is very small and condensed, and honestly feels very claustrophobic at times. Which brings me to my next point, the vibe. This map's vibe does an outstanding job of giving that feeling of being a prisoner and trying to escape. The tightness this map brings is how a prisoner would feel trying to escape, and the music is insane as well. And overall, this map feels like you're in hell, which is what Treyarch is trying to do. And this map is just beautiful and scary at the same time. This map is one of the first maps to use a real location, which is Alcatraz, and turning it into a zombies map. And they did an amazing job, as it is very similar to the one in real life. And doing that and making a good layout is not easy to do. Now overall, this map is the reason Black Ops 2 Zombies gets praise. The scary but beautiful vibe of this map is phenomenal. The cast of characters is perfect, where it feels like you're playing in a movie. Without this map, we wouldn't see legendary maps like Origins, Shadows, and basically all of Black Ops 3. This map set up the golden age of zombies and will be forever remembered as the savior of COD zombies.